We begin with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem just giving a press conference on immigration raids in Los Angeles. During the conference, California Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed by security after interrupting Noem to ask a question. CBS News correspondent Carter Evans shot this video of the incident. Let's take a look.
And what they have tried to insert into the city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this.
Hands up, hands up.
Also, I want to talk
Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about specifically.
This video was released by Senator Padilla's office showing his takedown by authorities.
Exaggerating and embellishing. Sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been docked.
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you don't my hands, go ahead, put them behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir.
Now, Noem spoke about the incident after the press conference and said she doesn't know the senator.
I don't even know the senator. He did not request a meeting with me or to speak with me. So when I leave here, I'll have a conversation with him and visit and find out really what his concerns were. I think everybody in America would agree that that wasn't appropriate. That if you wanted to have a civil discussion, especially as a leader, a public official, that you would reach out and try to have a conversation.
Now, Senator Padilla later spoke to reporters on how this all unfolded.
So I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground, and I was handcuffed. I was not arrested. I was not detained. I will say this. If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country. We will hold this administration accountable.
I want to bring in CBS News correspondent Carter Evans, who was in the press conference when Padilla was escorted out. Carter, you took some video as it was unfolding. Let's talk about how this all played out.
You know, I would say it was a big surprise for everyone. I was actually shooting some video of the DHS secretary while she was speaking. I was going to post it on social media when I heard someone approaching from the right side of the room, and that's when I panned the camera over there. Now, I did not recognize the senator immediately either. This all happened very, very quickly. The DHS secretary did not skip a beat. She just kept looking straight ahead, kept delivering her message as he was dragged out of the room trying to ask his questions. It was only then, after he was being dragged out of the room, that he identified himself as a U.S. senator, and that's when they brought him outside, and as you saw, they put him face down on the ground there and handcuffed him. I will point out that that video comes from his aides. None of the media got that handcuffing video, and they came down outside and delivered it to all the media waiting out here within about 30 minutes.
Let's talk about Padilla's background. He was somewhat prominently appointed to finish the term of Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So talk to us about his position and what he wanted to actually ask Noem at the time.
Well, you know, it's unclear exactly what he wanted to ask her. He did say that he was here at the federal building in Westwood for a different reason, for a different meeting, and that he heard that this press conference was going on, so that he decided to come down and listen in to see what was going on. He also mentioned that he'd been trying to ask the administration and the Department of Homeland Security questions for some time, but had not been receiving a response. So he said that he thought would be a good time to go and ask those questions. Now, the other condition of him speaking out here is that he wouldn't take any questions from the media. And there were a lot of questions about why he chose that particular time to ask his questions. She was in the middle of her opening remarks. They hadn't opened up the news conference to questions, and he took several steps toward the podium. And, you know, not knowing or recognizing who he is immediately, it's not surprising that authorities took the action they did to stop someone who was approaching the DHS secretary at the podium while she's speaking during a news conference. You know, security was extremely tight here. So I think in the room, we were all surprised to see that anyone would be coming forward and trying to interrupt this news conference. Initially, I think some people presumed that it was a member of the news media. Turns out it was a U.S. senator.
Yeah, and for background, Carter, you've been covering these protests day in and day out. And Padilla is representing constituents there in that area who are emotional about what's happening. So I assume he was there to represent their thoughts and opinions. Is that the sense that you got? Maybe talk about why he was there and why he made that uninvited visit.
Yeah, you know, he sounded very passionate. And as you saw, he got a little emotional outside here when he was talking about how if a U.S. senator is treated this way, you know, imagine how the farm workers are being treated. Imagine how the cooks are being treated. He got a little emotional while he was saying that, and honestly, that seemed genuine. It really seemed like he wanted to get answers. He just may not have picked the best time to do it.
All right, Carter Evans, appreciate your firsthand account. We'll check back with you. Thank you so much.